Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the pod. Excited to have this conversation. It's a real topical one. At the end of last year, as we're into 2024 now, a lot of Operator Connect operators got added. And I just looked at the numbers. We're now up to 87 Operator Connect operators. And today we're going to talk about Operator Connect and Operator Connect Accelerator and how that all works. And I've got Matt, who's a familiar face to the community. But Matt, for those who don't know, you just want to introduce yourself?
Hi, Tom. Yeah, great to be here. So Matt Hurst, I'm the Senior Technical Director for Ribbon's cloud offerings, the Ribbon Connect solutions, which we can talk about. Been in the partner community, as you say, for quite a number of years, working with Microsoft partners and also working with WebEx and Zoom partners as well on integrating voice into the UCaaS platforms.
Awesome. So let's start with Operator Connect. Again, probably most people are familiar, but maybe we should just cover the bases. So what is Operator Connect or Microsoft Operator Connect?
Operator Connect is really a new, not that new anymore, but it's a mechanism for operators to connect their telephony into the Microsoft Teams cloud environment. So it moves away from the traditional connectivity model where an enterprise would have a SIP trunk delivered from a carrier to an on-premise SBC solution, then back out into the Microsoft cloud. It actually shortcuts that, and it's a cloud-to-cloud based solution. So it's a fully multi-tenant. It's far faster to turn up service where you're connecting the operator's voice service directly into the Microsoft Teams cloud.
Yeah, and it's true cloud to cloud, and it's both technical cloud to cloud, as in the network connectivity, but also there's a contractual agreement, there's a service level agreement. So it's not anybody can be an Operator Connect provider. It's a select list.
Yeah, absolutely. It's an evolution from direct routing, which was the original mechanism to connect voice into Microsoft Teams. And really, Microsoft brought it in as a way to enhance both the customer's digital experience, digital journey experience of engaging with operators and onboarding telephony, and also, as you say, increasing the resilience and improving the performance, the network resiliency, the monitoring, and the call quality ultimately for customers when using the PSTN voice in Teams.
Yeah, and we should say, because it always comes up, like direct routing continues to exist. It continues to have a use case. Like you can either have direct routing as a service where the provider owns the SBC, or direct routing where you, the customer, own the SBC and pick your own SIP trunks. But the thing with Operator Connect is it really streamlines the process, both commercially and technically, because you've got this list of pre-approved by Microsoft providers. You've got the country list there. So I just checked again, we're up to 85 countries covered. So by no means the entire world. You're still probably going to have pockets of direct routing if you're like a true big multinational. But increasingly, I'm sure this year we're going to tick over 100 providers in 100 countries. So for a lot of customers, that can be true cloud to cloud PSTN these days.
Correct. Yeah. And as you say, direct routing is not going away. You can mix and match the direct routing, Operator Connect, and also the Microsoft calling plans depending on your requirements. And there will still be some countries where direct routing is required through regulatory issues and problems, where you still have to have local breakouts of carriers on a traditional copper wire.
That's it. I was talking to one of your colleagues about the Edge 8000 series, and they're still having PRIs and BRIs and E1s and T1s and analog connectivity. So it's going to be, we know in telco world, there's a long tail of connectivity. So you probably, again, if you're a smaller company or a more kind of cloud first company, you might have 100% cloud. But if you're in some of those trickier countries, you might well need a combination of connectivity types.
Yeah, absolutely.
Talking of that, actually, and relatively hot off the press, we've now got India, which is interesting. So that was one of those countries where it was always local breakout and complex. And now there's 3 providers providing true cloud telephony in India, which is quite a big deal. If I've deployed there, and I know others have, that it's non-trivial to get telephony out there.
Yeah, I think it's probably the worst country in terms of regulatory requirements, and from the tick all the boxes. You're absolutely right. And I understand that also the Microsoft Teams platform itself had to have some additions and modifications to be able to meet all the Indian regulations as well.
Yeah, it's a very specific use case. You actually have to buy a license for Teams from those Operator Connect providers. That's how the regulation works. It's a little bit of an edge case. So that levels the kind of conversation around Operator Connect. So what then is Operator Connect Accelerator? Operator Connect for faster?
The Operator Connect Accelerator program was introduced by Microsoft pretty early on in the program, actually, after the initial 4 or 5 operators that onboarded directly. And I think it was brought on as a result of feedback from the operators that Microsoft had, that the onboarding was non-trivial to the Microsoft program. Microsoft are quite rightly so, quite strict in terms of how they want things tested, verified and checked, and also monitored on an ongoing basis. And the operators are finding it quite difficult. The one piece that most operators found really difficult was actually the API or integration and the automation element. Because setting up the SIP trunk and connecting the voice, most operators can do that fairly straightforwardly. You do have some sort of idiosyncrasies, if you like, with some of the signaling and the media handling and things, but most operators can work that. Where they really stumbled was the API integration and the requirement to feed information back into the Microsoft cloud to do with like call duration and quality stats and things like that. So that's where the Accelerator partner program comes in, is there are a handful of partners, Ribbon is one, where we work with the operator to onboard them into the Microsoft program. And it's
so this is not for the end organization. This is to help the operator become an Operator Connect operator, essentially.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So the relationship we would have would be with the operator to help them on board. So the end customer, the enterprise customer, has no visibility of the Operator Connect Accelerator. The operator still has their direct relationship with the end customers. They still have their contracts. And so we're not visible to the end customer. And actually, if you look at all of those operators that are onboarded and listed up by Microsoft, there is no indication of those which have come direct and those which have come via an OCA. So it's quite interesting.
No, there's no functional difference to the end customer, and Microsoft don't have any need to advertise how the operator is doing Operator Connect. They have the same experience, the same compliance, the same standard, whether they're direct integration, they've done all that hard work with the APIs and bits and pieces themselves, or they've chosen to work with one of the certified Operator Connect Accelerator providers.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the one thing I'd say with the OCA partners is we're really there to help provide the expertise, provide the API automation. And what we say to the operators is you integrate to us once, and then we take care of all the API integration towards the UC platform. And it's not just Microsoft Teams. There are other OC platforms such as the WebEx.
Yeah, I was going to ask you that, because obviously it's a living, breathing thing, isn't it? That's another thing I hear from operators quite a lot, is like, we'll do the integration. I'm like, it's not a one and done. Microsoft are a fast moving beast. They add things, they change things. You have to commit to staying up to date. Yeah. So if they work with an OCA, the OCA can take that pain away of keeping on top of all the API changes and bits and pieces to an extent.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's one thing that I see is there's very few operators who are dynamic enough on APIs to be able to keep their systems up to date. They come to the telco world where their automation OSS, BSS systems are fairly set and they don't change much. Whereas you're now moving into the Microsoft world and the UC world and the cloud world where things move at a very fast pace. So the OCAs are really there to help as that sort of shim layer between the two worlds and to help allow the operators to work at their pace and then keep up to date with the API integration into the UC platforms. So as I say, we say to operators, you come to Ribbon as an OCA partner. We'll onboard you into Microsoft. We've done it many times for a number of operators. So we also bring the expertise. We know what's needed to be done. We work closely with the Microsoft onboarding team. We know the test suites. We know all the network architectures that need to be built, so we can help advise. And actually,
it feels like that's Microsoft's preferred. Is it fair to say that's their preferred motion now? Because Microsoft are kind of handing off some of the pain of dealing with that. They're trying to scale operators. If they have to talk to each one to one, they can't get to 87, 100, who knows what. Yeah. So all things being even, if an OCA has worked with them, pre-vetted them, knows the score, knows how it works, that's probably a smoother path, all things being even.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what I was going to say is fairly recently, there's been a change in the Microsoft onboarding process where operators are now actually directed to the OCAs to go and talk to the OCAs and understand how we can help them on board. Because again, we know all the prerequisites, we know all the things that need to be done. So yeah, it's a change fairly recently in the Microsoft program where operators are now directed to an OCA to start their journey rather than engaging an OCA halfway through the journey. So it's very interesting.
And you mentioned, obviously, we're mainly a team show here, but there are other platforms in the world.
Yep.
Like those operators and those platforms have started to follow a similar model. So I think you guys support more than just Teams. Is that right?
That's correct. Yeah. And it's very interesting, as you say, all of the other UCaaS platforms are following a very similar journey. to ensure that operators, they can bring them on faster. So they have enablement, acceleration partner programs, but also that the quality is maintained of the operators they are onboarding. It's not just anyone that can come in, and those that are onboarded do maintain that standard of quality of service and maintain the APIs, but also maintain the quality of the voice. Yeah.
I think it's nice to see that, because like direct routing is great, but it can be a bit Wild West. Like anybody in the world can say they're a direct routing provider, and they can wang one SBC on a server under their desk and be like, I'm a direct routing provider. Cool. And there are many reputable ones out there, of course, but that this Operator Connect standard is, again, it's an ongoing thing. So if the operator drops the SLA or drops the quality, they will get kicked out of that program, which gives the customer kind of a badge of reassurance, I think.
Yeah, correct. I think it's the gold standard. And as I say, the other UC platforms such as Cisco WebEx and the Zoom Provider Exchange, they have similar programs and they have similar requirements for both onboarding but ongoing quality monitoring as well. And I agree with you. I think it's a fantastic thing for the industry, because then it maintains that quality of service, and it gives end customers the reassurance that whichever UC platform they choose and whichever operator that's qualified, they're going to get a good experience.
Yeah, I do say to customers, even if you're going to need direct routing or managed SBC or whatever, like it's a great badge. Like many of those Operator Connect providers will also offer direct routing as a service, managed SBC, even ProServe, other bits and pieces. At least you're working with someone who's put the time, money and effort in to get onto Operator Connect. They're fairly committed to the Microsoft space in that respect.
Yeah, absolutely.
So how does it work? Every operator listening to this is going to be like, that sounds great, make my life easier. Like, how's that work commercially though? Like, who's paying for what? What's the timelines? Kind of how's that work?
Yeah, so the operators would need a relationship with Microsoft. They have to sign a contract. We would, as an OCA partner, we would work with the operator. We would promote them into Microsoft. We would help them meet the prerequisites, but ultimately the operator will get accepted by Microsoft into the program and will have a contract with Microsoft. The operator will also have their existing end customers or new end customers that they would have a contract with for providing the voice service. And then they would have a contract, the operator would have a contract with us as an OCA partner to provide that service and that capability of onboarding. So commercially, generally, the way it works is there will be some form of fee for the onboarding piece, a non-recurring fee for helping them get up on board, get certified, get the service to GA and ready to accept customers. And then there's a monthly recurring fee, which is based on basically customer volume. We don't charge on call volumes, or we don't charge per call through the service. It's literally, how many customers, how many users that they onboard. That's how the commercials work.
So very much like a lot of how the OCs handle their commercials, they'll be on a user fee basis. So as they add users, there's a percentage cost essentially coming to you guys for running the OCA.
Yes, correct. Yeah, that's right. And we're not just doing the onboarding, we are providing a service ongoing. We're providing monitoring, we're providing analytics, we're providing 24/7 support. So it's not just providing connectivity and onboarding.
Yeah. And as we said at the top of the session, Microsoft do change bits of the program. They do evolve the APIs, things change. You have to stay on top of it. Nothing with Microsoft is a one and done. It's an ongoing kind of job to keep up.
Correct. And it is run by Microsoft as a carrier grade service. So there is monitoring. So you need to have a partner that can help you live up to that same standard of and know how to run a carrier grade network and a carrier grade service.
Yeah. And Microsoft just at the end of last year announced shared calling. So that's their ability to go to more of a non-DDI model for Teams users, so they can have 1,000 users and not everybody have a DDI. Have you come across that yet in the OC world, and how does that affect the commercial model? Is it the same or different?
Well, to be honest, in the operators world, it's not particularly attractive for them because it's reducing the number of services and DDIs and phone numbers that they can sell on to their customers. So it hasn't had a lot of particular traction within the operators. Yep. It would have to move. I think the commercials move to more of a kind of a simultaneous call channel-based architecture commercially. Because if you're going to stick 100 users behind one phone number, one phone line, that's not particularly attractive for the operators either.
Yeah, and that's what I've heard too. Is like it's available as an option for all Operator Connect providers, but they do have to choose to support that scenario. And at the moment, it's quite a low number that choose to support it because they've built a lot of their models around per user model,
Correct.
like Microsoft do with software license.
Yeah.
But I'm sure it'll be attractive from a customer point of view, obviously, if you put that hat on, because I know there's a lot of customers out there with thousands, tens of thousands of E5. They've got phone ready to go, but they don't necessarily want to give all those users a DDI. They could light them up for the odd outbound call and go back to that kind of channel consumption type model.
Yeah, that's correct. It'll be interesting to see how that pans out. And as you say, the enterprise customers, certain enterprise customers it's attractive for. It's how that can commercially stack up to the operators, I think, is the question.
So if there's any operators listening, what kind of timelines are we talking about here, Matt? So do they have to go to Microsoft first, or can they come to you first?
They can come to us first. If they go to Microsoft first, to be honest, they will be just redirected to the OCA partners. Microsoft, as you mentioned earlier, they want to enable operators on much faster, much more efficiently, so they won't be doing it directly. So the operators will be directed to the OCA partners. And there's been a lot of work on that at the end of last year. So yeah, they can come to us directly. We can have some conversations around what the program is, what the prerequisites are, so they're aware up front of everything they're going to need to do. And then we can work with them and engage with Microsoft to promote them in. And obviously, Microsoft, it's not just an open program, as you say, that everyone can just jump on and sign up and start onboarding, because there is quite a lot of effort and involvement by both us and Microsoft. So Microsoft do have criteria. They do have some requirements in terms of what they want to see from an operator. So there is a sort of a process, a vetting process that Microsoft goes through to make sure that operator is going to deliver what's needed.
Yeah. And what is the timeline? I know it's a bit like how long's a piece of string, but what's like a best case timeline, typical timeline, worst case timeline?
Yeah.
And that depends on the operators as well, doesn't it?
It does. I think from the point of being given the green light, accepted into the program, we can get an operator up and running 4 to 6 weeks into the best case. A lot of it comes down to how quickly the operator can work with us to establish the network peering and the step
trunks. I was going to say, the contract's going to take 12 weeks.
With some operators, yeah. So yeah, it really depends on how quickly the operator can move, how dynamic they are, and how much resource they can put into assisting with getting things up and running with us.
And do they, like you guys obviously super well known in the carrier SBC space, do they have to be on your kit? Do they have to be one of your customers? What's the alignment there?
No, they don't have to be on our kits in their own network. So that's one of the great things of our OCA offering, is that they don't have to have a Microsoft certified SBC in their network, because we provide that as part of the service. So they'll obviously need some form of SBC that we can do a SIP interconnect to, but we can interface that, and they don't have to be running our equipment, and they don't have to be an existing Ribbon customer.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things you guys bring to the OCA party, is that massive heritage of big carrier grade experience and carrier grade switching and all that kind of stuff, because that a lot of operators won't be running on latest and greatest. I was about to say all of them, but that feels unfair. But like by definition, they're big complex networks, aren't they?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we bring that expertise. We've run tier 1 carrier grade networks globally for decades, so we know what's needed and we know what the operators are looking for.
Awesome. So Matt, if people want to find out more, dare I say they can get in contact with you? You ready for that?
Can. Yeah, they can reach out to me, or alternatively your local Ribbon sales rep. Obviously this will go out globally, so we have a global sales team. So reach out to local sales representatives, or you can contact me, no problem.
Awesome. Yeah, I've worked with Matt for too many years now, so I'll definitely recommend you have a chat with him just to know what your options are. They're good. You're in safe hands there. Cool. Matt, thanks for taking the time. Appreciate you explaining it all as well. Really useful. Maybe we'll check in mid-year or something and see where we are. I'm keeping a close eye on when we tip over either 100 countries or 100 providers, and it feels like it, but the pace we're going, it might be quite soon.
Yeah, absolutely. Brilliant. Thanks, Tom.
Cool. Thanks a lot.